Chapter 8. The Lady at the Gate. Juliana's toes had popped outside the thin grey blanket and were coldly protesting. This early morning call was just as irritating and as effective at stirring her from slumber as any screeching electric alarm clock. Unable to go back to sleep, she slid on her ill-fitting moccasins and tiptoed out of the cowshed. Everything in Striven had that pewter, pre-dawn look about it. She guessed it might have been about 4 o'clock in the morning. All was hushed. Just beyond the cowshed was a stone-flagged path leading up to the quadrangle, but just a little before it, branched off to the left, there was something that caught her eye. She followed this path that led to a stout wicket gate. At this point it was too dark to see much beyond the gate, but what she beheld both saddened and transfixed her. So as not to be seen, Juliana crouched low and small at the foot of the wicket gate. She watched, tensed and mesmerized, as a pale woman in a diaphanous golden dress appeared blowing a pipe just outside the gate. She played her little pipe as if no one was watching, which didn't matter because no sound came from it. As she piped, she danced and whirled with graceful abandon. Her feet seemed light as sponge cake, her hands soft and deft. Green laurel leaves circleted her long, fair hair, fragrant with apple blossoms, and her eyes were vivid. No inhibitions, no camera's Gorgon's eye fixed on her, no sequenced frock stealing the show, for there was no show, just the lady at the gate, dancing and piping away. Juliana thought that she looked like Queen Mab, Queen of the Fairies, yet there was also something of the raggle-taggle gypsy about her that cared what no one thought, a free spirit of the shining dew and buttermilk. Yet, strangest of all, was the silence. Juliana could hear nothing, not a note to be heard from this mute muso. Was she a ghost, perhaps? Even without sound, she knew the great lady heralded a merry, imperious call to join the dance. Every time she watched her, she felt a heart-sore longing to hear the rapturous music, this prayer springing from the little pipe. She ached to feel those brave notes reverberate through her body and fill her every nerve with an exquisite beauty she knew the song promised. But nothing. Dead quiet. Stillness. Juliana felt a strange despair at this little scene, which made her half wish she had never chanced upon it. But the insipid sun of that world was up by now, and she knew she must return to the inner Striven and the cowshed, and to begin the day's work. But as she picked her way back over the uneven stone path, she resolved to ask the first person she saw who the lady was, and why she made no noise. As she returned to the cowshed, everyone was milling about, eating their breakfast. Overhead, a wishy-washy sun feebly tried to shine. She wandered absently outside, and, as it happens, the first person she bumped into was Digby. "Digby, I just saw the most amazing thing this morning. I was up at the gate, and there was this lovely creature playing a pipe and dancing so happily I thought my heart would break from the beauty of it. But there was no sound. No sound, Digby. And with a rush I wanted to hear that glittering, joyous, solemn chorus." She didn't tell him that she wanted to step into the dance too, for then he might think her really silly. "But why couldn't I hear the heavenly music that she was playing? Why?" she asked earnestly. "Ah, yes, our lone piper. Well," he said, scuffing the ground with the toe of his shoe. "You see, it's all a bit hard to explain. I don't know if it's really true, but there's an old myth that says when the first commander, Lord Catfish moved in here, he had to rearrange the furniture, so to speak, to suit himself, you see. The story goes that he hated this thing called music. I myself have never heard this music of which you speak. It's probably just something they made up to comfort themselves. I sort of hope it isn't, because sometimes I almost think I hear an odd whisper when the wind plays in the reeds and rushes past me. But, that's probably just a trick of my imagination. Anyway, to answer your question, the story goes that to get rid of the music, he leaked this chemical gas into the air called sulfatilamide. It is said that it was just enough to silence the music, but not enough to stop speech. As for the lady you saw, I don't know. One day we'll understand, I suppose. Right now, she's just a phenomenon. We call her Mithril, he said dreamily. Juliana remembered seeing something on the Discovery Channel. She just came in on the sound engineer saying, 1 to 2 kilohertz emitted into the air will kill the harmonics of music, but leave the property of speech. But she wasn't about to explain this to tousled-haired Digby. For a start, she couldn't even explain TV, let alone the Discovery Channel. So, why not go the whole hog and do away with speech altogether, seeing he's such a killjoy? She asked indignantly. Can words die? I somehow don't think they can. They just sort of go on forever, don't they? Anyway, even Lord Catfish and the Doubtfears need words, or else how would they command us? He replied with resigned misery. They would just stand around grunting and pointing at things, as the fellow said, which is pretty much what they do now, from what I can see, she said, and they both laughed.